The scent of vanilla cupcakes drifts through the kitchen, sweet and warm, yet beneath that sweetness there's a sharp sting. The familiar hum of the refrigerator, footsteps on cold tile, unspoken words hanging heavy like fog. Audrey stands there, clutching her diploma, her hard-won symbol of achievements still barely out of the box. She looks around, feeling the invisible divide, favoritism etched into every glance, every comment. How does a person keep dreaming in a place that feels more like a stage for someone else's show? Sometimes recognition feels just out of reach, hidden behind a curtain of privilege others don't need to find their way through. In this home, the air is thick with unspoken tension. Jessica, glowing, oblivious to Audrey's ache, breezes by, always supported, always favored. Mom, pragmatic and distant, dismisses her daughter's pain like it's nothing. Dad, quiet and distant, offers a support that feels more like an obligation than love. And Audrey, caught in this whirlwind of inequality, fights to be seen, to be heard, her efforts overshadowed again and again. What does it take to carve out your own space when every step forward seems blocked, to reclaim your worth amid a chorus of neglect? She's tired, so tired, the kind of tired that seeps into every breath. Yet, beneath the exhaustion, flickers a spark of resilience. She knows her worth. She's not just fighting for acknowledgement, but for her own story. To turn the tide and make her voice matter. Maybe someday she'll stop being the shadow of her sister. Maybe she'll finally be the hero of her own story. As I turn to leave, clutching my bag, I hear Mom's voice. "You sure you're coming?" Concern drips into her tone. Not for me, but for Jessica's big day. "I'll make it," I say, forcing a smile. Inside, my stomach knots. Another promise made, another day I'm invisible. Tomorrow's early shift at the hospital waits, heavy with exhaustion. But then my phone buzzes. Dr. Fleming. A message flashes. "Need to speak with you urgently about the Patterson Fellowship." My pulse quickens. Big news, my fingers tremble as I open it. The words hit like a punch, because I suddenly see it. The truth behind the family achievement. Jessica's graduation isn't just her success. It's a carefully crafted game. A puppet show played by someone hiding behind the curtains. Someone has orchestrated her victory, exploiting my sacrifices as pawns in a silent power play. The reveal flips everything. The favoritism isn't just about bias. Someone staged her triumph using my opportunities to tighten their grip. The family's blissful celebration? A fragile mask hiding deeper manipulation. I stand there, eyes wide, heart pounding. The air around me thickens like rain about to fall, that sickening sensation of betrayal. I wonder, who benefits from all this? Who really wins? My mind races. Truths I never saw coming, beneath the surface of a seemingly perfect family. Past the smiles, behind the applause, a game of control is playing out, with me as the unintended pawn. And now, I can't unsee it. I can't go back. The applause rings hollow and I realize this is the start of a fight not just for recognition, but for freedom, for my right to carve out my own destiny in a family that's been hiding its secrets. The night was quiet, shadows stretching across the kitchen table as soft light from a reading lamp flickered. Audrey sat hunched over her textbooks, the weight of exhaustion etched into every line of her face. Jessica, glowing with the glow of her own ambitions, leaned back against the chair, eyes glassy but determined, surrounded by flashcards, coffee cups half empty, the scent of burnt toast lingering in the stale air. Then, silently, their mom entered, her face a careful mask of pride and practicality, placing a shiny brochure beside Jessica. No words, just that glance of approval that flickered, brief, fleeting, before her mother's gaze returned to her own plans for her daughter. Audrey felt it, a punch in the gut. Even then, she knew that fairness was a ghost in their world, just out of reach. Her heart clenched, knowing she'd give anything, anything to cut through the silence, to be seen for her sacrifices. But all she ever received was that distant smile, a reminder of the invisible battle she fought every day. Memories like that haunt her still, those small moments where the truth felt sharper than words. Sometimes she wonders if anyone else saw how deep it ran, how the quiet garden of her efforts was overshadowed by someone else's bloom. In the quiet hush of the morning, a gentle breeze stirred through a sunlit kitchen, carrying the scent of brewing coffee and warm bread. Audrey carefully arranged her favorite books on the shelf, each one a silent witness to her sacrifices, locked away behind eyes that rarely get recognized. Shadows of childhood flickered in her mind. Mom's approving nod when Jessica aced another race, the quiet disappointment from Dad when her efforts went unnoticed. She brushed her fingers against a small trophy, earned alone, with no family applause. That fierce little reminder buried in her chest, that she'd fought just to be seen, just to matter, suddenly felt heavier. Later, that ache fades into her mind's distant corners, replaced by the stark truth. Her journey isn't just about awards or recognition. It's about breaking free from the invisible walls built by favoritism, carving out her own space in a world that often doesn't see her. Because isn't it wild that what feels unseen can feel the loudest, the unspoken struggle, the silent pain? And lately, she's realized, maybe, just maybe, the most rebellious thing she can do is keep going, even when no one else is watching. The day begins with a quiet knock. She steps into Dr. Fleming's community center, where the air hums with quiet anticipation. The veteran doctor, silver hair, sharp eyes, glances up and offers a hand. "Audrey," she says softly, "I have extraordinary news." For weeks, she's waited, her heart fluttering like a bird trapped inside her chest. The Patterson Fellowship? Only one student in the whole country gets it. Her pulse quickens as Dr. Fleming continues. "They've chosen you." The words hit her like lightning. Her vision blurs with disbelief, with pure, unfiltered validation. She's stunned. "You earned this," the doctor says, and suddenly the world tilts. That fierce, stubborn hope, her hard work, her dreams, validated at last. And then Dr. Fleming adds, almost casually, "You know, I've been invited to Jessica's celebration tonight." The tension tightens. Her stomach knots. She feels the weight of what's unspoken, the unshared, maybe even unintentional favoritism. Does her sister understand, or does she see only the bright side? Her sister's success, Jessica's glow? As she walks out of the community center, her mind races. This isn't just about a fellowship. It's about her fight for recognition, her battle to step out from shadows cast long before her. Sometimes, Audrey wonders, if her parents could truly see her through her own eyes, would they understand what her sacrifices cost? Would they recognize the strength behind every late night, every scraped knee, every quiet victory? Or would they see only what's easiest to applaud? Amidst the chaos of family, social disparity, and unspoken favoritism, she keeps her focus. Not just on the prize, but on her own resilience. Because this isn't just about winning, it's about finally claiming what's hers. Her own path. Her own future, and if in that journey she sparks even just a flicker of change, well, that's enough to keep her going. The scent of freshly cut grass mingled with the distant hum of lawnmowers, but the real storm was happening inside. Audrey stood stiffly at the backyard table, clutching her award like a secret weapon, her palms sweaty, heart pounding. Jessica was laughing, her bright eyes shining, receiving praise from their parents that seemed effortless. Every cheer for Jessica echoed hollow in Audrey's ears. Inside, she'd fought so hard for recognition, late nights, sacrifices, yet it all felt invisible, swallowed beneath some unspoken favoritism that kept her in the shadows. She wondered, do they even see her, or is her hard work just background noise? Her mind flashed back to those moments, her disappointment hiding behind forced smiles, her ache for acknowledgement growing heavier each day. Today wasn't just about an award. It was about what's fair, what's real, and feeling like her effort is erased. Jessica's carefree success makes her wonder, how much of her life has been unseen? How much longer can she keep fighting for a slice of the spotlight that everyone else seems to take for granted? The backyard sun feels hotter now, the air thicker. She grips the award tighter. This isn't just about victory. It's about finally being seen, on her own terms. Jessica's eyes flicked toward the buzzing fancy terrace. The strings of fairy lights swayed softly above. The smell of rain on warm pavement mixed with the scent of blooming roses lingering from earlier. She felt it, like a cold pulse racing up her spine. That perfect, glossy smile on Mom's face. It looked too staged, too crisp. Behind her, the shadows of the party hidden behind the shimmering decorations felt like a different world, one Jessica wasn't supposed to see. Her heart hammered harder. Her fingers trembled as they gripped her clutch. A text lit up her phone in the dim glow, harsh and direct. It's finally happening. Truth or chaos? Her stomach twisted as she stared at the screen. What secret was Dr. Fleming about to reveal? Would this night finally break open the cracks in her family's fragile surface? The crowd blurred into a drone of voices. She knew she should stay calm. But her voice, her truth. Did she even have the courage to speak up? The air thickened. What's coming next, and will Jessica find her voice before everything crumbles? The evening air thickened as the party's glossy veneer pressed down. Audrey's heart thumped, a mix of dread and defiance. All around her, laughter mingled with clinking glasses, but her focus sharpened on the scene unfolding. Dr. Fleming's gaze lingered briefly on her, a silent, knowing look, like she saw past the smiles, past the scripted truths. The family's words about Jessica's achievements floated like fog, too perfect, too rehearsed. Audrey's chest tightened. Then, a shift. The distant hum of voices dimmed, replaced by a sharp, cold silence. Eyes flickered from Jessica to her parents, from her parents to Dr. Fleming. Her mind raced. What if this was the moment she'd been waiting for, but also the moment everything could shatter? A phone buzzed harshly in the quiet, an urgent message, impossible to ignore. Will she speak up, or let the weight of silence swallow her again? She's tired of feeling unseen, tired of the false smiles, the shortcuts. Tonight could change everything, or it could leave her stuck in shadows, waiting, aching, hoping. The night holds its breath. The truth waits just beyond the edge of what's revealed. And Audrey's next move will decide if she finally steps into the light, or if she keeps hiding in the dark. The room was small, but the weight of hope felt heavy. My trap of disappointment was closing in. With every passing moment, this announcement was making things worse, not better. Dinner was in full swing. Parents at the head table, alongside Jessica, grandparents, Dr. Wu. I sat at a secondary table surrounded by cousins and family friends. Close enough to catch snippets, but not enough to jump in. We'd always known Jessica was destined for greatness. My dad was raising his glass, voice booming for everyone to hear. Even when the girls were little, Jessica's determination was obvious. She's always been our ambitious one. Each word was a tiny dagger. I felt it pierce through my chest. I pushed my food around my plate, appetite gone. Nearby, Dr. Fleming sat with other faculty, casting sympathetic glances my way. The moment my father stood, tapped his glass for attention, the room quieted. "Thank you all for coming," he began, voice proud. "Today, we celebrate Jessica's incredible achievement. Med school isn't easy, and emerging debt-free. That's something." The applause was polite but hollow. Jessica looked increasingly uncomfortable. "We've supported her every step," my mom added, standing to join him. "Invested in her future because we knew she'd make us proud." My eyes welled up, hot tears burning behind mine. The words were precise. They had invested in Jessica, not in me. The message couldn't be clearer. Then Jessica, so calm yet with a strange softness, stood. "I'd like to say something," she said, voice shaky but clear. She looked straight at me, her expression filled with regret. "This celebration feels incomplete." Everyone's eyes turned to us. She took a breath. "Audrey and I both graduated with the same GPA. We both worked our asses off." A pause. "Honestly, Audrey worked harder. She did it all without the support I had." Silence fell. The room felt frozen. The truth was out in a whisper that echoed loudly in the tense air. Jessica's words hit harder than any applause could. The cracks in our family's foundation had just widened. Now, what would be left to rebuild? System. I had a hush fell over the crowd. My parents looked stunned. "Jessica." My mother whispered, "This isn't the time." It's exactly the time Jessica insisted I can't accept recognition that excludes my sister. It's not right, and it never has been. My throat tightened with emotion. After all these years, Jessica was publicly acknowledging the imbalance. It was both vindicating and heartbreaking. My father recovered quickly, his voice overly jovial. "Of course, we're proud of both our girls. Audrey has done very well too. But tonight is about celebrating Jessica being debt-free, which is a special achievement, an achievement you facilitated, not one I earned. Jessica, Count Ed." Her voice steady but firm. The tension in the room was palpable. This was quickly becoming the scene my parents had always feared their perfect family image cracking in public. Dr. Fleming chose that moment to stand. "If I might add something to this conversation," she said, her authoritative voice cutting through the murmurs. "This seems like an opportune time to share some news about Audrey that many of you may not be aware of." My parents exchanged worried glances. Audrey's research on neurovascular regeneration has earned her the Patterson Fellowship at Johns Hopkins. Dr. Fleming announced, for those unfamiliar, this is the single most prestigious position offered to a graduating medical student in the country. It comes with full loan forgiveness and a substantial stipend. Gasps and murmurs spread through the room. Dr. Wu was looking at me with new interest. My cousins were, whispering excitedly, "In fact." Dr. Fleming continued the selection committee, specifically cited Audrey's innovative dual-approach methodology, which she developed largely independently while balancing a full clinical rotation schedule. I've had the privilege of mentoring many promising physicians, but rarely have I encountered the level. The room felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for someone to break the silence. The flickering lights cast shadows that danced across faces, flickering like the doubts and secrets that had been buried deep. Then, unexpectedly, the atmosphere shifted. A thunderous applause erupted from the back of the room. Eyes widened as everyone turned, family, mentors, friends, their disbelief melting into genuine admiration. Slowly, hands clapped louder, louder, until the whole space was vibrating with approval. In that moment, something changed. The walls of their carefully crafted story crumbled. The truth of who Audrey truly was finally illuminated. It was as if the room itself recognized her brilliance, her resilience. The scene flickered with raw emotion, shock, pride, and a strange, unsettled silence, reflecting on how power can tilt, even unexpectedly, beautifully, forever. Audrey stood there, exhausted but unbowed, her eyes shining with unspoken triumph. No more hiding, no more silence. For once, she had been seen, by everyone. And what they saw was something more real than anyone had anticipated. The moment stretched, impossible to ignore, and the room, once full of doubt, now bore witness to her truth. An unspoken question hung in the air. What's really worth more? Recognition earned or the stories we tell ourselves? I catch myself back in that kitchen, the faint burn of toast still hanging in the air, like an echo of mornings I used to think I'd never escape. I clutch this battered ceramic mug, the warmth seeping into my palms, but my mind's colder. Outside, the muffled chaos of laughter and dishes fades into silence, replaced by this crushing feeling, being invisible behind their favor, their laughter, the way they overlook what I do, who I am. It's like I'm small, a shadow in my own home. That flickering fluorescent light casts jagged shadows across the peeling countertops, making me feel both tiny and fiercely determined at once. I remember that moment like a seed planted deep inside, a quiet, stubborn urge to be seen, to matter outside their approval. Now, years later, that longing fuels my fight. I want recognition. I want to step out from under their shadows and prove I belong, not just in their eyes, but in my own. Do they see me at all? Do they know how much I've fought to get here? How every small victory tastes sweeter because I had to fight for it? Sometimes, I wonder if they even realize I'm still standing, still trying to carve my own space, quiet, resilient, and unbreakable. As the applause faded and I slipped out of the spotlight, I caught myself in a moment of quiet defeat. My hands trembled around the mug, the warmth losing its heat faster than I could feel it. The house was still, soaked in the scent of burnt toast and yesterday's laundry. Outside, the laughter and chaos lingered just beyond reach, as if taunting me with what I'd never quite gotten. A fair shot, a voice that mattered. I looked at the peeling countertops, jagged shadows flickering in the dim fluorescent light. I'd become used to feeling small, invisible behind their favoritism. Jessica favored, Mom's approval always just out of reach, Dad's support distant and pragmatic. But deep inside, something stubborn refused to break. I remember that quiet urge from years ago, just to be seen, to matter beyond their stories and standards. That flicker still burns. It fuels me now, in a way I can't ignore. I want recognition, yes. Not just medals or praise. I want to prove I belonged long before I won that fellowship, that I am more than their shadows and silences. Do they see me? Do they realize how much I've fought? How every silent victory tastes richer because I refuse to give up? Tonight, I stand on the edge of a new chapter. The fight isn't over. It's just begun. Because in this quiet, relentless, unbreakable part of me, I know I am more than what they see. I am my own story, and it's just getting started. The scent of rain on hot pavement mixes with the faint hum of summer air. I sit on my apartment's worn couch, staring at the clock ticking louder than I want it to. It's been months since the party, since everything started to crack open. My parents' voices echo in my mind, their words like a script I've memorized but never wanted to act out. We're thinking of getting you something special. The small box, the glint of that rose gold watch, Jessica's, not mine. It's beautiful, almost cruel. I hold the memory, but the ache lingers. Why did they celebrate her? Make me feel so invisible? Jessica's athletic smile, her effortless success, does she even know how I fought to be seen? They call it support, but sometimes it feels more like a gap I'll never cross. How can they be blind to the way I've watched from the shadows, tired but resilient? And now, they're pretending it's all fair. The conversation behind the gift is a blur. Favorites, sacrifices, the quiet choices that always left me behind. I push back the hurt. There's no point explaining. It's always the same dance. Then the phone rings. Dr. Fleming's voice pulls me out, her words about Baltimore and new beginnings. That moment, standing there, the sky funneling dreams and doubt, something shifts. 3 weeks later. My apartment's empty, packed, ready. Jessica's gaze from the windowsill stings. I still can't believe you're leaving, she says, And I want to say, neither do I. But I just nod. Because this isn't just about leaving a place or a future. It's about finally taking my shot, breaking free from shadows, forging my own story. And somehow, I know, this is just the beginning. I've been fighting for recognition all my life. Now, I'm determined to claim it for myself, no matter what. We'd been inseparable through med school, but now our lives were splitting. Mine heading to Johns Hopkins, hers staying in Detroit. I kept replaying moments, the unspoken things Mom and Dad did or didn't do. For years, I thought I was the lucky one. They paid more attention to me, made me feel special. Only now, I see the truth. Maybe they weren't lifting me up, but holding me back, making me rely on their approval, trapping me in a cycle I hadn't even realized I was in. I sat beside Jessica on the windowsill, the city lights flickering below. I looked at her, tired but strong. "You didn't do anything wrong, Jess," I said softly. She looked away, her voice trembling. "I didn't do enough right either," she replied. "I should have spoken up earlier." A pause, heavy with regret. "They're devastated. Mom keeps crying, says she's worried about us. Dad, he's telling everyone I'm some genius, funded by some big grant." I blinked, surprised at how little that stung. For the first time in a long while, I felt weightless. "Let them," I whispered. "It doesn't matter what they say anymore. Their approval, it no longer defines me." Because Dr. Fleming's mentorship had shown me what true support looked like, challenging me, protecting me, believing in me without conditions. She saw my potential, not my family's expectations. That realization hit hard, how much I'd wasted chasing shadows instead of my own light. Jessica squeezed my hand, her smile gentle. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. I took a deep breath. "We find our own way. Beyond the competition they created between us, away from their shadows." Her eyes shimmered and she nodded. "Yeah, I'd like that." For a moment I felt a quiet peace settle in, the kind I'd been craving. The road ahead was uncertain, sure, but it was mine now, clear, not open, and I would walk it on my own terms, finally free.